Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Darylyn and today we are going to be diving into a topic that I have had kicking around in my brain for probably almost a year now. And that is the question of whether or not the Philodendron pink princess is canceled. Now, before we get into it, I do want to just, clarify, this is just my opinion. This is for entertainment purposes only. If you love your Philodendron pink princess and you've had absolutely the best experience growing it and it's amazing and huge and you don't know what people's problem is, that's amazing, good for you. I wish I'd had that experience with this plant, but unfortunately, I've been personally victimized by a few of these. So I am firmly in the camp that this plant sucks and is canceled. It's over, it's done. There's just no short-term recovery for it, in my personal opinion. And I think that the plant community agrees, because if you look at the popularity and the pricing of these plants and just how many were even available for sale over the past even year, but especially over the past 2 years, the drop is dramatic. They went from being one of the most coveted, sought after unicorn plants. Everyone wanted one. Everyone wanted to show theirs off. If you listed them for sale, they sold like wildfire. People would be paying, mid triple digits for cuttings, high triple digits for large plants. And that is just that's not the case anymore. That's not the climate for the market for these plants anymore. Pretty much nobody wants them, and you almost never see nice specimens anymore. If you're gonna see pink princesses for sale, a lot of them have very, very low variegation. A lot of big box stores have tried to tissue culture them and mass produce them, and most of those plants, even though they're only charging like $15 for them, they come and they have almost no variegation. So I think a lot of different things happened here to kind of turn the tide on the desirability of this plant. I do think part of it was just that it's a commodity that can self-propagate in perpetuity. So, demand was eventually going to be satisfied as the supply went up. And then the other thing is I do just think that the plant market has changed, the economy has changed, the pandemic is over. So lots of interesting things to take into consideration. So let's jump into it. But one more thing before we do, please like this video and leave a comment. But also I am gonna announce the winner of the giveaway at the end of the video. So if you entered, make sure to stick around to the end and find out if you are the lucky winner. All right, let's get into it. Why pink princess philodendrons are canceled. Okay, so I don't really think that this is a super complicated deep dive analysis. The plants are canceled because they suck. But the reason why they suck is actually I think the interesting part of all of this, because they didn't used to. Back when the houseplant craze first kind of started getting off the ground and pink princesses were still kind of first hitting the mainstream of the plant community, they were incredible. I mean, there were a couple of pictures floating around Instagram for years of really, really, really spectacular specimens, and these plants were just mind-blowingly beautiful. I mean, the pink color is so attractive. It's so vibrant. It's the perfect bubblegum, girly girl pink. And a lot of them will have these beautiful marbled patterns with intermediary colors, and the leaves can get super big if you have the right conditions. And I mean, I honestly remember seeing pictures of these plants and just going oh my God, those are absolutely stunning. I would love to have one. They're incredible. But even way back then, I remember hearing things about them that they were kind of difficult. I remember probably in 2019, maybe 2020, I remember watching a video on Plantarina's channel where she made a quip about how, oh, haha, pink princess, might as well call those brown princess, because they just tend to not really give a lot of variegation. And yeah, that is a take that has aged mighty well, because that is one of the chief complaints about pink princesses, is that they're really, really difficult to get consistent variegation from. And with these, there's a lot of kind of myths that, oh, they need more light, or they need more humidity, or, you know, the fertilizer affects it, or they will give you more color as they mature. They have stable variegation. The variegation is part of their genetics, so it never fully reverts. You know, it can grow solid green for a long time and then give you, you know, a big half moon full pink leaf. And yeah, like that kind of wisdom floated around the plant community a lot. It used to be like a couple years ago that you would always see people posting in groups on Facebook about, I just got a pink princess and how do I encourage more variegation? And you would always see the same like 5 comments of like, you can't, there's nothing you can do. Oh, give it more light. Oh, give it something to climb. It's just very clear within the community that it's well known that they're finicky. They're hard to get the pink that is the namesake. The reason you buy the plant is not always a guarantee, which is not great, especially if you paid like $300 for one back in the day when that's when they were going for. Yeah, I've had a few of these, and both times, like first one I traded for, so at least I wasn't out the money. The 2 leaves that were on the plant when I received it were gorgeous. And then after that, it just gave me nothing but grief. And every once in a while, it would push out a leaf that had like a nice splash of pink on it. But for the most part, the plant was mostly green. It really irritated me because it was kind of a difficult plant to grow, because in addition to it not giving me good variegation, it also was a finicky plant. Like I think the number 2 complaint that I hear from people, aside from like my pink princess doesn't have pink, is that my pink princess's leaves are getting stuck in the sheath when they're unfurling. They're getting ripped apart. Oh, this leaf was really pretty, but it ripped itself apart, or I tried to help it out of the sheath and I ripped it. They kind of need more humidity than you would think, considering that they're just like a non-velvet philodendron. I think they're like an arabescens hybrid. Those aren't known to be super difficult plants. So it would be really frustrating for people to have these plants in, you know, sometimes even in cabinets or in higher humidity and still be having issues with the leaves unfurling. And, you know, you'd end up with a plant that had like a whole bunch of like naked nodes and was like all scraggly. The other thing too is that the pink variegation was really difficult to preserve. There's a lot of people out there that will swear that like, oh, you know, the variegation is dead tissue and eventually it's inevitable that it'll brown. And I don't actually think that's true. There's like definitely ways that you can keep your plant and steps you can take to help increase the chance of preserving your variegation for longer. But the pink princess variegation is notorious for being really easy to burn on grow lights and really easy to brown. Pests destroy them. Rust fungus loves pink princesses. And also, like, if you overwater your plant and it gets edema, that will kill the pink as well, like really quickly. So kind of a finicky plant all around. Like even if you have a beautiful specimen with good genes that's showing you color, they can be hard to take care of. And you could easily take a plant that looked pretty good and then a few months of trying to acclimate it to your conditions and it would look like absolute garbage. I've had 2. So I had the one I mentioned earlier, and then I also bought another one that was absolutely beautiful. It actually had the super dark black leaves and then 2 big pink sectoral leaves. And then once those browned, the plant never put out another pink leaf again as long as I had it. And I even took a bunch of cuttings. I tried to node propagate down towards the base where the pink leaves were coming out. And one of the nodes produced an all pink plant and the other node produced an all green plant. And it was just like, I couldn't win. And so eventually I did give that plant to my friend. And, you know, she was super grateful to have it. And I think it's, you know, it lives with her in Louisiana now in like 100% humidity year round. So hopefully if, you know, eventually the plant matures as it gets older, it'll put out more pink leaves for her. I mean, I doubt it, but it's just, this was a very typical experience of just struggling to keep the plant looking nice and also just to keep it healthy at all. They're tough plants for whatever reason. They just are not resilient. So I do think that demand was kind of starting to wane a little bit because people were hearing that these plants were not easy to take care of and people didn't want to invest a ton of money in something that was then going to be difficult to take care of. But I also think too, and this is just kind of in general, it's not like unique to pink princesses, that like most of the time when there's really expensive plants, the majority of the people that are buying them for the super high prices are people that have the intention of turning around and selling them. There's not that many people out there that are like, yeah, I'll pay hundreds of dollars for a plant and then never cut it, never try to get my money back. So demand for these just like skyrocketed. And as the prices came down a little bit, more people bought, more people tried to resell. And the thing is that with pink princesses, there's always been kind of a lack of quality control. And this can be true of any, popular plant. But the thing is, like, when you're trying to create a cultivar that has certain characteristics, you're supposed to cull any specimens that are produced that don't have the desired level of characteristics. So, but what happened with pink princesses and basically any rare plant is that instead of culling the undesirable specimens, people would just keep the ones that they liked and sell the cast-offs. So the market was saturated disproportionately with low quality variegates. And that's before we're even going to talk about the quality control with tissue culture and at big box stores. So this has happened multiple times with different rare plants. There are a couple of really large plant conglomerates that mass produce plants and sell them to, your Walmarts, your Home Depots, garden centers, what have you. Garden center plants tend to be priced, for the American consumer. They tend to be within, the $15 to $35 range, depending on the plant. And that's much lower than a lot of these plants would be going for in the regular plant market. So you're taking like a plant that would be selling in the hundreds of dollars and mass producing it and selling it for way cheaper, banking on the fact that you're just going to sell way more units in order to make it worth your while and worth your investment. So in order to produce all these, large quantities of specimens, these companies have to make a lot of them. And as a result, the quality control suffers. They, clone all these plants and they don't take the time to grow them out to make sure that there's nice color being produced. If the plant is healthy, if it makes it through the acclimation period of TC, if it grows to the correct size, it gets shipped out. And a lot of people were really angry that they ordered things like pink princesses online from companies like Costa Farms, and they would arrive and have no pink on them. I mean, I wouldn't be very happy, like even if I only did pay $15, like they're telling you that this is the product and the pictures they have online always look great and they're taking your money and then, you're not getting what you're paying for. So, it kind of exacerbates the phenomena of prices dropping, the plant getting a bad reputation, people complaining about them. The company doesn't actually end up probably making enough money off of them to continue to mass produce them. So, they probably won't produce them forever. And people don't want the plants anymore because of like the word of mouth that they're difficult. They don't actually give you pink. You can't even get them for a good price from a big box store because the quality is so low. The other thing too about rare plants and tissue culture is it's not even just big box stores or big conglomerates that are doing it now. Like there's whole communities of people who are doing tissue culture in their basements or in their spare bedrooms and then, reselling the plants in Facebook groups once the plants mature. And the new thing recently, the new complaint I see every single day about pink princesses is that as the leaves are unfurling, they get these really ugly, like brown marks. Like it looks like someone like took like something and like scraped off the top of the top layer of the leaf. You see this a lot, a lot on pink princesses. I don't have a pink princess anymore, but I did have that issue on mine sometime. But it makes the plant look horrendously ugly. It's probably, I think at least for me, like it would happen when I would underwater my plant, but it's caused by, excessive friction when the leaf is trying to unfurl from like underwatering or not enough humidity or whatever. But it just makes the plant look horrible. And a lot of people like weren't sure what it was. You'd see these posts and 5 different answers. Oh, it's rust fungus. Oh, it's a TC, genetic degradation, issue, low quality plants produced in TC. oh, pink princesses are clones of clones of clones of clones. So, you know, they've just degraded over time. And, you know, there's a lot of debate in the plant community about that. And when like an actual like botanist or scientist gets involved in the conversation, like they say like that's not how cloning works. But what I do think happens is that, I mean, cloning anything, you can still have mutations occur. And I think with like the lower quality plants that we're seeing, it's not that like actual tissue culture clones are necessarily like lower quality than, you know, taking cuttings and propagating or seed grown plants. I think it has a lot more to do with just low quality control. They're not culling the plants that are low quality. You know, if the plant is alive, if it's surviving, it's getting shipped out, it's getting sold. You know, especially a lot of these big labs that are not even selling tissue culture plants to consumers, they're selling like little plantlet like starter plugs that are super, super tiny. They're not doing any quality control on those. They're shipping them all out. And it's the person who buys the, you know, the set of plugs, it's their responsibility to grow them out and then decide which ones they're gonna sell. And it's like, of course you want to sell as many as possible. There's just no, like any plant that makes it is getting sold. So unfortunately, it's just another instance of a craze, of something popular, you know, ruining the thing that was really cool to begin with and kind of killing why it was popular in the first place. Unfortunately, yeah, like these plants are just, they're done. Like you barely ever see them for sale anymore. And when you do see them for sale, I mean, you almost can't even give them away. Like, even if they're beautiful plants, you see, you know, cuttings from gorgeous plants go for like $20 each. Honestly, like, I wouldn't even be surprised if you have a difficult time selling them for that these days, because they just have such a horrible reputation for being difficult and just not worth it and just breaking your heart, you know? Why would you do that to yourself? It's too bad though, because really spectacular ones are spectacular. And I would love to maybe try again with one someday. One of my friends has a really pretty one that she might share a cutting of that with me. And, you know, hopefully I don't get my heart broken again. But yeah, you know, if you are on the market for a pink princess and you're like, I don't care, Darylyn, like I want it, it's my dream plant, I can finally afford it, then like, yeah, go for it. Just, you know, be advised that you shouldn't pay very much for it because they're just basically worthless at this point. So yeah, I do think that people are going to kind of give up on them and you won't see them for a while. And eventually they may actually become kind of rare again because there's just going to be so few people that still have them. But I mean, if you want something similar and you don't want to deal with like 99% of those issues, I would recommend a strawberry shake. Like these are so much easier to grow. They're really chill. I have had zero problems with my strawberry shakes. They're easy to propagate, easy to grow, easy to size up. The color, for the most part, as long as you get a plant with good genetics, like I don't have any issues with mine. And like, look, they will turn pink too. That's so pink. They turn pink. You just have to sun stress them. But yeah, you know, speaking of strawberry shakes, it is time to announce the giveaway winner. I do owe you a giveaway winner. So the giveaway was on the fancy philodendron video. It was for this cutting. It's a philodendron strawberry shake. It is from this plant. And the winner of this lovely, fully rooted strawberry shake cutting from Queen Celine is Jenna Carroll. So congratulations, Jenna. Go ahead and reach out to me on Instagram and I will help you figure out how to claim your prize. I'll give you a pretty like generous grace period, but you know. So thank you to everyone who entered, and don't worry, there will be more giveaways in the future and more chances to win. So thank you everybody for chilling with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.